What up, everyone, and welcome to the ICE Out of LA podcast. Join us as we dive into the latest updates and milestones from ICE Out campaigns across LA County. Highlighting grassroots organizing and deep solidarity, we aim to offer sharp political analysis anchored in the unshakable belief that every person, especially immigrants, deserves dignity, respect, and the right to belong. Through raw stories, bold ideas, and the lived experiences of everyday people, we aim to spotlight the unstoppable force of community in action. Because Somos Mas, we are more than the obstacles we face, more powerful than the systems that try to silence us, and more united than ever before. The ICE Out of LA podcast is rooted in the truth that we live every day. Solo el pueblo salva el pueblo. Only the people save the people. This is a call to action, a spark of hope, and a celebration of our collective resilience. In today's podcast, I have the honor of having Pablo Alvarado, who is the founder and co-executive director of the National Day Labor Organizing Network. Hey, that was all formal. So welcome, Pablo. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
It's a joy to be with you.
Aww.
You are a bundle of joy.
Aww, thank you. And that's our podcast. I'm just kidding. Yeah, Pablo. There's a lot of things I want to talk to you about. There's a lot of things happening, and there's a lot of things that have happened to lead us to the moment that we are today. But to get us started, I do want to talk to you. We're here at Radio Jornalera, which is located at the Pasadena Community Job Center, and is a project of NDLON, which is the National Day Labor Organizing Network. So for people who might have just discovered us or who are new to the immigrant rights movement, can you talk a little bit about NDLON, the origins, how it came to be, and what are the origins of NDLON?
Sure. Well, officially, NDLON was founded in 2001 in Northridge, California. But we began setting the circumstances to found NDLON in the mid-90s. And it turns out that during the 80s, there was a flow of Central American refugees of war, even though the United States never wanted to recognize them as refugees of war. But people fleeing from wars in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua in particular. And the number of workers in the street corners increased in the 1980s. And every time that you have workers in public right-of-ways, people complain about their presence for different reasons. So in the late 80s and early 90s, localities were trying to figure out, what do we do with these men who are standing here in the streets, and who are they, and why is it that they are looking for work this way? And without understanding that it's very basic, it's supply and demand. The men are there because they are needed. So people began calling the police, and then the politicians. This was in the late 80s. And then in the early 90s, Mexican workers began coming, particularly around 1994, when NAFTA went into effect, and millions of Mexican farm workers were displaced. So they came to the U.S. Just here in this area of Pasadena, on Villa Street, there were 250 day laborers in the streets.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And there was a construction boom. There was a lot of work. So with that increase in the number of workers, like the increase of people complaining about their presence, started. And, of course, the stigmatization of people. These are men that don't want to work, that they're looking for work, but the people usually say they don't want to work, So that they litter, that they loiter, that they harass women that pass by, that they are one of the things that I've heard throughout the country is that they devalue the property, the private properties, just their presence.
They're just like they're very present, standing there.
And that we are turned. This is something that the Minutemen began saying a long time ago, that we're turning American neighborhoods into third world cesspools. That's the language that they use. And of course, there are always people who want to help workers, you know. And together with that process of migration, people like me, I'm not the only founder of NDLON. There are several co-founders of the organization, but people like me who had organizing experience in Guatemala, El Salvador, Mexico, Honduras, Nicaragua, Colombia, and South America, we all began talking to each other. And we began asking, hey, is wage theft happening in your place? And what do you do? So that's how it started, the conversation. And it was informal. Until we said, well, maybe it's time for us to meet. And the first meeting was a soccer game. It was a team of Ladera Heights, which, by the way, has been one of the Home Depots. It used to be called Home Base back in that time.
Why was it called Home Base, Pablo?
Because it's they just the same. It's the same as Home Depot, a place where people found anything that they needed to do construction, home remodeling projects. And the way the corners started is like men helping customers to load the merchandise that they bought. And then that's the way the corners began. But then they were hired to go and do the construction. And then more people came in. And in that particular place, Leather Heights, we were doing very intense organizing because it was illegal to stand on a sidewalk to look for work. So the men, somehow we were able to negotiate with Home Base a specific area within the parking lot where workers would actually gather. And we were able to organize. But in order to organize, you have to humanize the relationships between people. So we formed a soccer team, and in the afternoon we would go practice. And then the compañeros from San Francisco say, hey, why don't you come to San Francisco and have a match? And we did. And we went, and in the middle of the soccer field, it was so natural that the workers got together and they began talking to each other exactly about the same things that organizers were talking about. Like when a worker doesn't get paid, what do you do? Or when the police comes. Because if there's something that they laborers know, is how to confront and sometimes work with the police or against the police, whatever is needed. See, because they see the police every single day. So in that particular corner, we were fighting against the sheriff. And by the way, there was a good captain there. I remember his name was Captain Jack Scally. It was an older man, a white man. And we were negotiating with Home Base, and all of a sudden he was the best ally that we had.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, so we were organizing there, and we were organizing the soccer team. We went there, and the workers began talking with each other. And that's when we figured out, well, maybe it's a time for bringing workers together and organizers together so that we can learn from each other, see what we're doing, what works, what doesn't work. And just conversations like that. And experiences like the story of that captain. I remember that after one meeting with the Home Base, he said, hey, I want to take you guys to eat. And he treated us lunch, this sheriff. And I remember that I asked him, hey, you're not like the other sheriff, because at that time there were terrible. They've always been terrible.
Yeah.
They're terrible now, but they used to be more terrible than they are. But this man, and his response was, my father was a racist.
Oh, wow.
And I don't want to continue with that trend. It ends with me. So it's like, it was so interesting that moment, because the day laborers were being persecuted for looking for work. It was a crime to look for work. That's the first battle that we had, that we engaged in together, with other organizations, with different organizations.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that you share that too, because I feel like for a lot of people, right, this might be the first time that they hear about day laborers, that they exist. I think, right, if you live in Los Angeles, you see them everywhere. Right? If you from here, day laborers are not something new to you. But we know to a lot of folks, especially with everything going on right now, like, it is the first time that they're maybe like seeing day laborers more. Because a lot of times, they've always been at the Home Depots, right? I've been there for decades, actually. I know with the Home Depot where I support, there's a compañero that's like, I've been here for 15 years. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, like, that's a really long time. So I definitely feel like the day laborers have always been there, but maybe not have always been seen, right? By the people driving in, or like, besides the police, no one else is really taking, seeing them. So I do feel like for a lot of folks, right, like, although, we are currently fighting ICE at the Home Depots, we've had in the past to fight the police, like the anti-immigrant forces, like the Minutemen, who would come and harass workers. And yeah, so like, thank you, Pablo, for sharing. Like, day laborers have been negotiating these dynamics, or just very like intense dynamics for decades. Yeah.
For decades.
For decades. I know you mentioned the football matches, and I feel like we need to bring that back and how we organize workers, or even organize each other.
We were about to, but the race started.
Damn.
We were going to do, we used to do the La Copa Mundial Jornalera, the Day Labor World Cup. That's what we call it. And we had, at a given moment, we had like 25 soccer teams.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was a day. I remember that the teams would prepare for 3 months, because it was a whole day of games, and it was beautiful, and it was we wanted to bring it back this year, but we're getting ready for it. But then the fires and the race this year has been like really terrible. But definitely, soccer it's a sport of the people, and it's always brought people together, and you just need to put two stones and in a ball, and that's why there was a local park in Ladera Heights where, after people didn't find jobs, like around 2-3 p.m., we would go and play soccer. I was very young at that time. I could play soccer.
It's cardio, man. The cardio,
Yeah. But the day, you're right. You were saying that because the day laborers are invisible, but while they are highly visible.
Yes.
So it's a contradiction that I quite don't know how to explain, but they're invisible. They're invisible when, if you think about what they do every day to make people's lives better, then you're gonna see that they're highly visible. When you drive around the corners where they gather, and you see the gardens green and the houses painted, that's because of those men. And they're seen because of their labor. They should be seen for other things, for their humanity, for what we bring, as people. But, the most visible thing is their work. But they are invisible when it comes down to respecting their rights. And that's why we have to fight. That's the reason why we have to organize and fight back, so that the rights of people are respected. And I think I can say that after decades of organizing, and doing this work together with so many people, I believe that day laborers have actually become uh, the landscape of Los Angeles and other neighborhoods. Like people accept the fact that they're going to be there, and that it's normal. I mean, for Sean Hannity to say a few days ago that there shouldn't be raiding the places where day laborers are because they're just looking for work. Like it means that we've made progress in that sense because that language didn't exist before. So I think like it's normal. It's okay to be a day laborer. It used to be the case that day laborers were persecuted for being day laborers. Yes.
For seeking work, for being skilled workers,
yes.
for taking space,
yes.
for demanding the right
yes.
to seek work, like
yes.
the right to work.
Yes.
I agree, and I think especially now, as NDLON, right, last year we launched the Adopt the Day Labor corner, right, or Adopt the Home Depot campaign. And I feel from that campaign, one, I think it was genius of us to do because, right, as we were seeing right in the raids when they started in June, they're going to the Home Depots, right? So I feel like we're able to give people like a very doable task that was highly effective, right? That kind of made a difference. Yeah. And even for me, right? Like, me, I'm always I support the Huntington Park Home Depot. I'm always talking about the Huntington Park Home Depot and the Stella team. But like, I remember there was one day where like the cars didn't come out of Terminal Island and all the volunteers kind of coordinated together and said, well, we're still here at the different Home Depots. Let's just do the mutual aid we've been wanting to do. So if folks came, they distributed jackets, they distributed groceries. I know at that Home Depot I support, like, yes, the group there is doing, like, Migra Watch. But what I've seen is that they're also watching for when the workers, when they get picked up for work, they'll text me, okay, Nancy, this worker got picked up. Here's the license plate of the truck that took him. This is the rate they negotiated for the job. And then I'll get a text at the end of the day. Ya regresaron. Sí les pagaron. Like, and I'm like, oh, my God, this, like... Yeah. Ecosystem of support, solidarity, love, like dare I say love?
Yeah.
And like just caring, or like like when it rains, we need to go give them ponchos. Oh shit, it's too cold. Does everyone have a jacket? So I do feel like I love seeing that, especially con the compas, because of all the shit they've had to go through just being there to look for work, And I've even heard from them, like, they appreciate it and they're like, cuando ustedes no vienen, no nos sentimos bien, right? Or like, at this point now they expect folks to also be there. And I think that is a great relationship because I feel like, here at NDLON, we talk a lot about solidarity. We talk a lot about love and why we need to do it. But I think like what I've been seeing a lot this past year is like the results of that love and the results of that solidarity and how it just creates like a community of care and love, which is so different from what, like, the people who actually govern this country are doing, right? And are like, modeling. Yeah.
We're building a country. They are destroying a country. And,
I'm going to say it to the middle camera. Yes.
That's how you build a healthy society, by cultivating relationships among people that don't know each other.
Yes.
And, that concept of adopt a corner is not new. And I know it sounds like paternalistic when you say adopt, but it's not. Back in the mid-90s, we had a similar program. During the Proposition 187, the day laborers were being targeted by police, and we didn't have the infrastructure to be present in every day labor corner across Los Angeles. So we asked people of good conscience, hey, would you please monitor what happens in that corner when police comes and when they arrest workers? And my job around that time was to go out and get people out of jail. I've been fighting with the police, I remember that we did a march in Agoura Hills, and they called the National Guard on us. And there were 60 workers doing a little march, and it was terrible. And we were fighting for that right to look for work in the street. So we made that call, and at that time there was no social media.
Yeah.
So we needed to call people. People would call us, call this number. I remember I had a beeper, and I would give my beeper to the day laborers. And whenever there was police raids at the day labor corner, they would just beep me, and I would know what the code was, and I would immediately drive to that corner. That's how it was.
That was rapid response right there. Rapid response.
Yes.
Rapid response.
And I remember this.
And those beepers.
I remember this lady from Topanga Canyon. There was a corner there, Tawny, and that was one of the corners that was hit all the time. And when I would get the beeper, I would call Tawny, something is happening. Would you please go? But it was just landline, kind of, and it was that was the rapid response at that time. So essentially, when the laborers have lived moments of persecution, systematic persecution.
Yes.
In the past, because of who they are, because they laboring, and it's been intense. But I have never seen the type of systematic persecution that's taking place right now against the day laborers. But at the same time, I have never seen the level of support, care, and love that the workers are getting from people from all walks of life. The other day I was at one of the Home Depots, and there is a group of folks that have adopted that Home Depot. And all of a sudden I hear in the walkie-talkie exactly what you're saying. Manuel just got a job. He left. And people know the workers by name. And they're talking with each other. Sometimes the jornaleros bring pan dulce and coffee or champurrado to the people that come to monitor. And sometimes it's the other way around. And it's exactly, they're calling them, why aren't you here today? Exactly. It's beautiful. The other day, this man shared this story. This man in Alhambra who has adopted a day labor corner, he said, today was a very special day because, and I asked him why, what happened? And he said, well, it's that this day laborer came to me as I was leaving. He's been going to that corner for 3 months already. As I was leaving, he calls me and he says, I want to apologize to you. I said, why? You haven't done anything to me. No, I did. I didn't give you my name, my real name. I told you my name. My name was Luis, but it's not. It's Carlos. Very nice to meet you.
Wow.
So, and for him, it took 3 months to earn the trust of that worker, and it was so meaningful to him that he told him that. So these type of relationships are being built at Home Depots, and I think that's, I know that before we formally began this conversation, you asked about how you fight fascism, authoritarianism. That's exactly how you fight it. Building relationships, accompanying the people who are in the first line of the hatred. Defending those folks who are vulnerable to the abuse. You stand with them in solidarity, not because you pity them, but because you love them.
Yes.
And that is the difference. And I think that when we issue a call for Adopt a Corner, that's exactly what we were envisioning. And by the way, Nancy, that's the way that the labor centers got started. It was people who were concerned about the well-being of the laborers, and then they began bringing coffee to them, and then they created an organization, like Casa de Maryland started in a trailer. Now it's an organization that has over 100 employees. Casa Latina started in a trailer, So it's like, there was a number of organizations that came out of that process. I bet you we're going to have a new generation of organizations that are already been built from the bottom up by ordinary people. You don't need to go to college to understand what love and solidarity and caring for others mean, But it's beautiful to see people from all walks of life, asking us, I am afraid of going and talking. How do I approach them? Yeah, so it's always beautiful to see people who want to move beyond what they've been told, beyond what they're comfortable with. And that is what requires to fight back, that we talk to people that we've never talked.
Yeah, and that's how you start humanizing the workers, but also each other, like start humanizing each other. And I think also just seeing the importance, or just, it might seem something so simple, like cafecito pan and a good conversation.
That's it.
Goes a long way.
When it's honest, when it's meaningful, when it's authentic, when it's about humanity, when it's about kindness, any conversation that you have ends up in something beautiful. And I think that these new relationships that the program Adopt the Corner is helping build will, I don't know how they will evolve, but I am sure it's going to be something beautiful.
Yeah, so shout out to all the patrollers, the folks who have adopted a corner, folks who just also like on your own are doing stuff. Like, I think it's small and mighty groups out there, but they're doing amazing work. And it's you're every day that you're out there, you're literally rewriting history. And I feel like what I've been processing a lot in this moment is like, okay, damn. So every day we do get a chance to kind of push this country one way or another. Because every day, like, our adversaries are doing the most to push the country a certain direction. But I feel like that also gives us the opportunity to push back and also, like, present our vision for the world and how we want the world to look like. And the best way to do it is by modeling, right? We talk a lot about modeling.
We build it.
Yeah, you build it. You show it. You show people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for all the folks that are, like, showing so much love to the jornaleros, because one, they need it, right? Like, we need to defend and protect our people. But I think, like, we're coming out as better people at the end of it, too.
Yeah.
It's very reciprocal.
And community's been built with workers, but also the volunteers that are coming to monitor what happens at those corners. They're also becoming good friends.
See?
It's community. And that's organizing. And organizing, I know that we're organizing against things that are terrible, and seeing the violence that's being perpetrated in the name of the state, and seeing it at the day labor corners, at the Home Depots, I know it's traumatizing. And I know that many of the folks who have adopted the Home Depot have had to see that. And we know that what it feels afterwards. And I've seen people cry because it's the first time that they see something like that. It's something that didn't happen to day laborers for decades, And I'm not saying that it's good that people see this kind of violence. But I think, like, injustice is always going to exist. And I think it's part of who we are as human beings. We're always going to be imperfect, and injustice is going to always be there. And my hope is that new generations keep fighting, those injustices. And I think, like, if injustice didn't exist, we wouldn't have empathy. And empathy is a human trait that makes us more beautiful human beings.
Oh, Pablo. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I feel like, especially in this moment, I think as NDLON, because, right, we represent and are made up of day laborers, jornaleros, like that is our base. That's our people. That is us. You know, right, this is not the first time that we're fighting for the rights of day laborers. This is not the first time that we're seeing day laborers dehumanized. But we all, we're continuing to fight, right? So, can you tell me a little bit about our relationship with Home Depot? Because I feel like, because also I think this is not our first rodeo, right? Con Home Depot.
No, it's not. It's not.
Not our first battle.
It's not.
Yeah. So, what has been the relationship specifically between Home Depot and day laborers and NDLON?
Well, it's been tumultuous, and it's a corporation, so they wanna make money. We've met with people at the highest level of the corporation years ago, and they have told us that they like day laborers because it's convenient for them. They would never admit that they're part of their business model, but it's very convenient for a homeowner who is doing a minor home remodeling project to come by the door that you need to install, and then coming out and ask who knows how to install a door, and then do the negotiations and take the worker and leave. It's so convenient. That's, by the way, that's capitalism at its best. So Home Depot has that kind of relationship with day laborers. Obviously, in every neighborhood that they behave differently, depending on the population that they serve in those particular neighborhoods. Like I know in some places that are very conservative, they even build fences around the Home Depots to keep workers outside on the sidewalk. And in some places where you have a store manager who understands the plight of the day laborers, maybe because his or her father was a day laborer, which is exactly what's happening now.
Yeah.
And they're more open, and they will even come and talk to the day laborers, And I've seen it, and we've facilitated negotiations between store managers and day laborers and the security guards, with like they come out and they tell them, look, guys, it's okay if you're here. We don't have a problem. We just want to make sure that when the employers come, please don't block the driveway. Make sure that the traffic flows. And we've come to agreements with them, and we come up with set of rules that we distribute among the day laborers. Now, day laborers actually understand that they create the rules themselves. They keep the place clean.
It's their workplace.
Well, and in every corner there's a certain level of organization. So it's not. It may look chaotic, but there is always a certain level of organization. So there's been this moment where we've had good relationships, and I think it was in 2006 when we began pushing in the city of Los Angeles, to require the large home improvement stores, when they open a new one, that they establish a place for a day labor center. They call them day labor shelters. For us, those are worker centers. Other people find jobs. The first one was created in Cypress Park. And it was council member Mike Hernandez who initiated that process, and he used the power of the city. He said, I'm not going to let you open your store unless you create a day labor center. Otherwise, you are not open your store in my district. That was the kind of power that council members were willing to use, that unfortunately the council members now are afraid of doing it. And at that time, there were only like 2 Latino council members.
They were not the majority.
No, they were not. But they had that kind of power, and they were able to. They were willing and able to push and use it. So based on that, we came up with the ordinance. And it turns out that when we were pushing for the ordinance in Washington D.C., an immigration bill was negotiated, and then they were at the last stages of the bill, and the Democrats had the opportunity to introduce 10 amendments, and the Republicans had the opportunity to introduce 10 new amendments. Well, it turns out that one of the amendments that was introduced was called the Home Depot Amendment. And what they did is they tried to preempt what we were doing in LA. So in the immigration bill, imagine they were saying, hey, localities should not or are prohibited from requiring the home improvement stores open day labor shelters when they open when they open new stores. That was the amendment, and it was carried by Senator Isaacson. I remember his last name, from Georgia. The headquarters of Home Depot are in Georgia. Yeah. So
for all the Georgia people, just so you know.
and you know, of all the things that the Republicans have to pick from in terms of amendments, you know, they picked this one because this is a corporation that's powerful. And the corporation told them, this is what I want. And they did it. So that all it will require to get Home Depot, to get ICE out of Home Depot, is a call from the CEO to President Trump and say, you are harming my business. You are exactly. I mean, that's the power of the oligarchs, and they could do that. So eventually, you know, the bill in Washington D.C. died. They did call us, and they said, "Okay, we surrender. Let's negotiate," because we told them, "Hey, you know, we don't. Let's sit down and talk, and let's how we can make the ordinance good for you and good for us, good for the day laborers and good for you." And they said, no, we're just going to go to D.C. and, you know. It was the first time that we actually, the NDLON, had to go to D.C. and do...
lobbying?
Yeah, cabildeo. It was like, we had no idea how to do it. And they told, you know, a lot of the... We only went to the friendly Democrats, right? But they told us, you know, we hear you, we sympathize with you, but unless you bring labor with you, we can't do anything. So we had to approach the AFL-CIO, La Una, all of the different building, particularly the building trade unions, you know. And we were able to kill that amendment with the help of labor, you know. But it was the amendment was actually being supported by some of the unions as well. You know? So that relationship with unions is also tumultuous. It hasn't been clean, just like the relationship with Home Depot. So, you know, they called us and they, you know, essentially we surrender, because all of a sudden the entire country was talking about the Home Depot Amendment. In the immigration debate, you know, we held a series of press conferences to denounce Home Depot, and in the background it was the Home Depot logo. So the CEO said, hey, this is harming our company. We got to stop it. So they call us, okay, let's negotiate. We're going to drop the amendment, but let's negotiate let's negotiate the ordinance in Los Angeles. Well, the bill died the next day in Washington, D.C. And then they say, we don't have any reason to negotiate with you. So we're gonna push for the ordinance the way we want it. And we did it. You know, and a little organization defeated a multinational corporation. There are moments, oppressed communities, and I know that this is something that you know very well, there are moments in which oppressed communities have this little power that you have to know how to use, how to wisely push for, and advance a little bit the rights of people. You know, that was one of those moments.
So just to say, right, the NDLON's relationship with Home Depot is a long-term one.
Yes.
This is not the first time that we're in battle. And I like that you mentioned, right, like, because a lot of what we hear from Home Depot today is we have our hands tied. We can't do anything when it comes to, like, ending the raids at their, you know, parking lots. Excuse after excuse after excuse, when you've seen them literally pick up the phone and call DC to try to shut things down that would benefit workers.
Yes.
We say that Home Depot, we say that you have the power because Pablo was there and he saw. You all have that power and have used it in the past.
They have the power.
So, yeah. And I do note that for our current battle with Ice at Home Depot, they care about their image. Look at the sign, right? Like,
oh, yeah. This has become... and, the soccer moms are using it. Like, here in Pasadena was the first... What was the first Ice at Home Depot protest? And it's soccer moms, teachers, retired teachers, mostly white, that gathered there, and they were concerned about the violence taking place, and so they went like inside the store, inside the aisles, and chanting Ice at Home Depot with a different tone, not the way we would do it. It was Ice at Home Depot.
Ice at Home Depot.
Yes. And it was beautiful, to see them like standing, and then because that was the first time, that they came and they did that, and then other people saw.
Yes.
And they say, okay, we want to do the same that they're doing.
Because I remember they were like the first team to go inside the store.
Yeah.
Because folks had been outside with the signs or had been outside patrolling. But I remember I was like, oh my God, they went inside.
Yes. Yes. And then they went and they read the letter to the store manager. And, before they went in, they had a conversation and they said, look, this is not against the workers that are the employees of Home Depot. These are workers, and we're going to be respectful. We're not going to touch anything, harm anyone or destroy anything. Yeah. We're just going to go in and make our point. And they did. And now people are going inside the stores. And it's a difficult position for Home Depot because these are customers of Home Depot. It's not just any kind of protester. These are customers, and they're feeling it. And they're feeling it from different angles, because I am sure that their business has gone down because they're not targeting just day laborers. And by the way, day laborers are their customers. You ask the day laborers, hey, have you ever been a customer on the Home shop on the, they pull out their receipts and say, look, I spent $1,000 yesterday in materials, So the day laborers are customers, but these rates are also, targeting other people.
Yeah, and if you look Latino and you go shop at a Home Depot, high probability you're going to get caught up in immigration kidnapping.
Yeah.
I don't even want to call it enforcement, just kidnapping, immigration
it
kidnapping.
Is. Snatching people without, and putting them in the van, like throwing them down on the floor, stepping on their neck. I mean, it's like, it's so inhumane. Every time I see it, it's just,
The current fight that NDLON has to hold Home Depot accountable, it's not the first time, right, that we've engaged with Home Depot as a corporation. We've had various campaigns to make sure that workers are able to actually just be at the corners, right, not face harassment. But can you explain to folks what our current fight is as NDLON with Home Depot? What's been our current fight as NDLON with Home Depot?
It's very simple. We just want Home Depot to be safe for day laborers to keep looking for an honest day of work, for the employers who need their labor, for the customers that come into the store to shop whatever they need, for the employees who work at Home Depot, for the community at large. Every time that you see these operations, everyone is put at risk. Everyone. So we just want to make sure that it's safe for everybody, and what that requires is an end to the persecution of the laborers and customers at Home Depot, and then to the rates. That's essentially the goal. That's what we want. How do we get there? That's obviously, there's debate about it. Because some folks are saying we got to boycott Home Depot. That's a luxury that day laborers don't have. But we're not opposing people who actually have that privilege of holding their money and not spending it there and sending people to other places. We are an organization that, which, main, I hate this word, and I'm going to say this word because I can't find another one. We're an organization whose main primary constituency is the day laborers. But we also serve immigrants and low-wage workers in general. But we go back always to our roots, and that is the day laborers. And every time that we make decisions that might impact the livelihoods of people, we have to ask workers. And I think that's why we have, as an organization, called for a boycott. But it doesn't mean that we won if we believe that eventually that's the only alternative to stop the raids and turn every single store into a safe space for everybody. Then that's what we'll do. But for now, we believe that we can have an impact doing different actions. And I like the fact that there is an ecosystem of people calling for a boycott and people saying nice out of Home Depot, people doing the action that you led, the ice scraper, that, by the way, had an impact in their economics, in their bottom line. And the more of those that people do independently, the better. So I think what we want is a movement that is decentralized and diverse, that can build a leverage to make sure that a leverage that can be used to pressure the corporation to do the right thing, to be a good neighbor. That's all we want. I mean, they come to our neighborhoods, they take the money of people, and they allow for this to happen. That's unacceptable. So, and I believe. By the way, there's plenty of different strategies. We're also working with investors in Home Depot. And there's a resolution that we're pushing for that's gonna go to their big meeting. I think in May they're gonna have their big meeting. So.
And their headquarters in Georgia.
So hopefully all of those folks that have adopted corners in Georgia, we want a big demonstration outside the shareholder meeting.
Yeah.
So I think it's very simple what we want. We just want safety for everyone.
And I like what you said, although NDLON hasn't called for a boycott, it doesn't mean that we're not doing everything we can to hold Home Depot accountable. We're doing it through nonviolent, militant, direct actions, nonviolent disruptions, right? Just because we're not at the point right now, right, as you mentioned, why, of the boycott, we support everyone else that is doing the boycott, but it doesn't mean that we've just been standing around either.
Correct. We've been doing a lot.
And for folks, who I think, even just this week, I've been following up with people who have been replicating and are still planning to replicate the ice scraper action in so many parts of the country.
There are a lot of them coming.
So many. And so many have already happened and have been so creative también. And I feel like that's what I loved about the ice scraper action is that, we did it. We modeled it really well. Fue chingón. And it really inspired others, Yeah. And I feel like, the idea of purchasing something, then returning it isn't something that we created as NDLON, right? It's an old tactic called a buy-in, right? That comes from folks like Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals, but it really answers the question of what can one person, right? Does one person really have the power to make a change? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, and anybody can do it.
Yes,
anybody, as in group, as individuals. As a family, you can go buy, $1,000 worth of worth of merchandise and then go back and return it and let them know why you're returning it.
Yeah. And even just recently with everything happening in Minnesota, like I've even seen organizations replicate the tactic, but with
Yeah.
Target. So like recently, like organizers, I think it was like 70 or 80 people each got a shopping cart, a Target shopping cart, and they each bought like a thing of salt. And their message was, salt melts ice, so does corporate courage, you know? So I've been loving seeing how it's evolving and how like people are just taking the tactic that works, right? You bring your people together, you get to engage in like what I call like collective travesuras.
Yes. And creativity.
And creativity.
Yeah. And we have also shut down Home Depot.
Yes.
You know, we have also closed the intersection. I remember after the death of Carlos Roberto Montoya Valdez in Monrovia, the next day after his death, and we called for a vigil, and 1,000 people showed up, and we blocked the main entrance. You know, we did a very strong action that I believe sent a message to the corporation. And I think the more we do, the more impact it'll have. They might not tell us, hey, we already called the administration, and you know the pressure might result, and I think it's already happening. The number of ICE raids at Home Depot is decreasing, but it doesn't mean that the laborers have stopped being persecuted. It's that they are now being persecuted in their neighborhoods,
at the bus stop,
exactly,
at the street. Yeah.
So now we have to shift tactics on how to bear witness of the cruelty. You know? Because if there's something that I think when we made a call for the Adopt a Corner, which has been magnificent, the idea was, you know, come in, bear witness of the cruelty, film it, and show it to the world.
Yeah.
And to the extent that public opinion is changing, it's because ordinary people have actually decided to do that. They are not okay with what's happening, and they say, this is what I can do, you know. And of course, is there a risk? Of course, there's always a risk. We have all seen what happened to in Minnesota to a person who was documented. You know, to Preddy, Alex Preddy, right? And he was documented peacefully. Not every time that we're doing documentation that happens, but it could.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why when we ask people to do it, we ask them to do it safely and peacefully. Not that Alex was being violent, you know, but we ask people to do it safely, peacefully, and lawfully. So if one of those ICE agents is telling you to back up, then back up. You know? There is no, according to the lawyers, they're saying that it's not like the law doesn't say it's 4 feet or 3 feet away. It's that you can be closer as long as you're not interfering in what they're doing. So I mean, it's and of course these people who are not trained on it, they don't understand. But the point was to document the cruelty and show it to people, because their point is cruelty.
Yeah,
that's the point that they want to make with so much violence. So it's an ongoing battle with Home Depot. I don't know where it's going to end. We always know how we start a fight.
Yeah.
We never know how it's going to end. But what I can assure you is that we're always going to make sure that whenever and whatever we are involved in an action, we're going to keep it peaceful and keep people safe.
Yeah.
But when you protest, there's always tension, because when you protest, you're calling out an injustice. And those who are perpetrating injustice don't like it.
Yeah.
And is it uncomfortable for Home Depot? Yes. Is it uncomfortable for people that come and shop? Well, that's exactly the point. To make people uncomfortable, to make people think. That's the role of protest.
Yeah, we can't just go on like a business as usual, like nothing's happening. Like people aren't getting kidnapped, murdered, you know.
No.
Yeah.
If you're a person of good conscience, then you can't just stay quiet. Yeah.
And I feel like what I told even like folks who ask me is that like, well, what's the best or the right way to protest Home Depot? I've just told them like everything, everywhere, all at once contra Home Depot. Like there was a woman, there was an action in like a ice cream action in San Diego, and you know they had a really, you know, it was a tight knit crew, but there was a woman who showed up and she had crocheted like this design, the ice at a Home Depot design, and she did it like in crochet. And I remember she was just standing there with the crochet, and that moment kind of became viral. And like I started following her, like I'm her biggest fan, like I'm giving her likes, but just her being like, I'm a crocheter. I think it's like Latina crochets. And then she has made other designs after that, like abolish ice and things like that. So literally, like, denle con lo que tienen, like, exactly. You know, like engage in the fight, engage in the struggle with what you got, you know, with what you can give, you know, and don't hold back, right? You know, and I think like with the ice cream and all the actions that NDLON has been leading this year against Home Depot specifically, I think we're showing that like nonviolence doesn't mean that we're just sitting down and letting injustice happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like nonviolent direct action is a practice. Because trust me, even me and all the training that I've gone, when I see a cop or a police officer creating injustice in our community, the first thing I want to do is yell at them. You know? So it is a practice of remaining nonviolent, right? Because our bodies are reacting naturally to the injustice that we're seeing, right? So, yeah, so when we say as NDLON, we encourage everyone to take creative, and we mean it. Like the ice scraper, you know, we had that idea for months, you know, and we were just kind of like the right political moment came. How do we make it happen? You know? And it was such a labor of love. Like, I think I was in charge of kind of making it happen, but everyone pulled through. Like, Pablo, you were doing crazy outreach to the unions. Like, you were on the phones. You know, all the rapid responders and the folks that were in the corners pulled through. The clergy, Civic Sundays.
We had to do it quietly.
Yes. And we were like, we can't promote it because it was the first time we were doing it. So I was like, y'all, don't put it on social media. I had to stop like so many groups from posting. I was like, no, call your friend, have coffee, like have these conversations in person. But we got like 200 people.
Yeah, we were thinking about all the scenarios. What are the? I remember one question that we asked ourselves. You know, what about the contractors that are coming? How are they gonna get? Are they gonna get upset? So I mean, there were all of those questions. You know, and that's why we decided to have people to de-escalate tensions. But I think like I would say like 80%, 8 out of 10 people that were there were in agreement with what we were doing.
Yes.
Even the employees.
Yes. They were taking our signs too. Yeah. They were like, yeah, give me a sign.
So, you know, because they saw the death of Carlos Roberto Montoya Valdez. Yeah, they saw it. They have the footage that they don't want to share, you know, with the community. But they know what happened. They have seen it.
Yeah.
Some employees have told us that they have seen the footage. So I think like at this point, you know, we have to, wherever you are, in the face of injustice, in the face of what's happening, and whomever you are and whatever you do, there's always an angle. And not all people are willing to be a part of a rapid response network or an adopt a corner effort, you know. But maybe your call is to deliver groceries to a family that needs it, or taking a kid to school.
Yeah.
You know, keeping the community safe. So, I mean, it... like not getting involved if you're a person of good conscience, it's not an option in this moment. It's not. Silence, in our view, is complicity. And there have been moments in history when people have remained silent, and people remember. And we will remember those who didn't speak out, those who were afraid, the politicians that didn't want to say anything, the chiefs of the different police departments that don't want to say anything. We have to pose the dilemma to all of those people that call themselves friends of immigrants. Well, this is the moment to show it. And we have to keep doing that, posing that dilemma without forgetting one thing, and that is that we should never trust anyone, that we should trust ourselves. Because at the end of the day, the slogan of Solo el Pueblo Salva el Pueblo, that's exactly what's happening right now. The resistance is Solo el Pueblo Salva el Pueblo. It's people showing up for each other. It's people saying this is incorrect and not on my watch, and I'm going to come out and do. And I just love what's happening in Minneapolis.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful the way the community's coming together and everyone doing their part. I think Minneapolis has really been showing, like, everyone just needs to do their part, and you get to choose. You choose, but you have to do something. You have to do something in this moment. Yeah.
I was I think one of our compañeros from Copal was sharing that 90% of the people are not 90% of the people who are in the resistance are not rapid responders.
Wow.
That they are people who are taking food to the families, people who are taking the children to school. So it's like everybody has found their way to protect their neighbors. So it's I think, and in LA we set kind of like the tone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we did.
From Sela to Pasadena to LA. And I mean, I remember that here in Pasadena is the first place where we kicked them out of the hotel.
Yes.
So, but every community, and then Chicago learned from us. Oh, the whistle.
The whistle.
I remember when it started, and it was this woman who came to the CDC, the Community Defense Corner, and she brought, I remember it was like 500 whistles.
Oh my God.
And then she said, "This is what we should use." I remember that it was in early June when the raids had barely started, and then I asked her, how do you come up with this idea? Well, this is what I use when I took my children to the woods. In case they would get lost, they would just whistle, use the whistle, blow the whistle, and then I would hear where they were, and I would find them. So that's the story that she shared.
Wow. And now the whistles are everywhere.
And now the whistle is a symbol of, it's our weapon.
Literally, it's us, our whistles, vibes.
That's all we have. But that's all we need.
Yes.
That's all we need. I know that the whistle also has generated some controversy. So there's no tactic, there's no strategy that is fully perfect.
Yes.
Like we gotta try all kinds of strategies and tactics, to resist the violence. And by the way, I think the situation that the country's going through is the country is at a crossroads, and the idea of check and balances no longer exists.
Mm-hmm.
We are living in a tyranny, and Congress doesn't even have the courage
Yes.
to confront the executive power. And then the Supreme Court makes decisions that the executive doesn't follow through. And so there is a constitutional crisis, and it's not like the Supreme Court deciding after making a decision that it's not like they have a police force to enforce their decision. Like even in the case of the Epstein files, in terms of the files that have been released, there's very few files.
Yeah.
So they're resistant, and the order has been given to them. Was it the Supreme Court that gave the decision? Right? So similar with Kilmer Abrego Garcia.
Yeah.
Like they said, no, you cannot bring him back. It's not possible. Now it's in El Salvador. It's El Salvador responsibility. So I think immigrants, we come from countries where we have seen authoritarianism, fascism, political violence firsthand.
Yeah.
And some people believe or talk about violence like if it was some sort of romantic idea.
Yeah.
And it's not. I have gone through it. As a young child and as a young man, I grew up in a civil war under dictatorship, under a militarized society where people didn't have rights. And it starts exactly the way it's starting here. First is those who are viewed as the most vulnerable. And I say are viewed as the most vulnerable because even in my view, the most vulnerable people are the most powerful people when they lift up their head and when they said, enough is enough, I'm going to fight back. I'm going to, So, but what's happening in this country is that they are going after immigrants, but everybody is asking who is next.
Yes.
And we are seeing who is next already. And the way political violence and instability starts is by having these targeted assassinations that have already begun in this country, So I think every opportunity that I have as a Salvadorian American to tell people of this country that in the direction that they're going, I always take that opportunity. Once it starts, in order to keep it, to keep that authority and measure authority, is to be more repressive every time. So Americans are not. It's not late yet. They can still stop it if people keep protesting and going out to the streets. So and what they don't understand is that because I was thinking when that man mentioned the idea of the Civil War, this man has no idea.
Yes, like you've lived through it. You've been through this. This is not your fight. It might be our first time fighting fascism, but it's not your first time fighting.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And what it means in real terms is like, I remember that my father was a paramilitary during that time, a member of a paramilitary organization. Most of his kids were on the other side of the political spectrum.
Wow.
You saw families split in that way, and sons shooting at their parents, and their parents shooting at their sons. And communities being split, and people being grabbed in the middle of the night, torture. I was 8 years old when I first heard the first person torture right by my side at 3 a.m. A friend of mine. and those are the things that political violence leads to.
Yes.
And it's not, I don't even know how to characterize it, but what I know is that I don't want to go through it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I certainly don't want the generation of this generation of kids to go through it. I love when the high school students are going out, walking out from schools. It gives me so much hope because this is their turn. This is their time to stop this. And I want to warn everyone to even bring down the rhetoric.
Yes.
That yes, we can. There's tensions in politics, and it's when people protest, you create tension, and that's the purpose of tension. That's the purpose of protest. Create that peaceful tension.
Like tension is okay. It's what we need, right?
Exactly.
That push and
That's
pull.
okay.
Yes.
That's okay.
It's part of it.
Yeah. But killing each other.
Yes.
That's a whole different thing. That's the inability of human beings to talk.
Yes.
And I think unfortunately there are people in society that do want to have that kind of environment, that kind of violence, and they want to spread it. But I think the people that are against it are the vast majority.
Yes. Somos Mas. That's why as NDLON, somos un chingo más. And we don't just say it because it sounds cool. Like, it's our political philosophy, and it's the truth, that there are more of us that want peace. I think I've been reflecting a lot too on this moment, and I don't think anyone wants this level of violence that even we're seeing just now. This level of uncertainty, this level of what's going to happen today that's going to drastically change the world, because it seems like every day pasa algo that drastically changes our world, yeah.
That's actually one of the characteristics of fascism.
Mm-hmm.
Like every day, you if you're the ruler, the authoritarian ruler, every day you make a decision that's as drastic as the one that you made the day before, or even worse, precisely to create that anger. And then you're focusing on what he's saying today, and then you forgot what he did yesterday. And having a society going through that tumultuous decision making and response from people, and now with these things, with the cell phones and the massive disinformation that exists out there, we're a very dangerous moment. Not just in this country, but in the world. One of these crazy people, one of these days, is gonna want to use, one of those, weapons that are gonna destroy so many people. So I hope that doesn't happen. But every time it looks like the world is being run by unscrupulous people, people who don't have strong moral parameters. They just like the idea of power and clinging to it for as long as they can. And, I'm afraid that this president might even say, I'm going to cancel the midterm elections.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of that. All the conflicts with other countries. It's not going well, but at the same time, I see a lot of hope. I see a lot of people, and it might be that we don't get there. And I hope that that's exactly what happens, that we're able to say, hey, we have to step back, and we have to rethink where we're going, as a country. And I think immigrants have a role to play. Yeah, and in what kind of country we want. If there is something that I talked to my wife. My wife is a U.S. citizen. She was born here. And she told me the other day, I don't want to live in a country where there are no immigrants. And she told me, where am I going to get my elotero,
Yeah.
my panadero, la cucaracha, my champurrado, my tamales,
My cumbias.
Exactly. So she was telling me all of that.
Yeah.
Like, why would I want to live in a country where there are no immigrants? It's like when you see a person selling flowers, um, street vendors, jornaleros offering the only thing that they possess, their labor, their hands, that's vibrant. That's the beating heart of this country. That's what keeps it alive.
Yes. I feel like you always talk about the reason why you always push so hard for nonviolent action. And it doesn't come from cowardice. It doesn't come from saying, like, oh, I'm not strong enough to engage in battle. It's because you've been there and you've seen it and you also know the repercussions.
I do.
And I think that's why as NDLON, like, we're always pushing creative new ways and showing people creative tactics. And we're going to continue doing that. We're going to be rolling out a lot more things, because we know it's hard to see violence onto our community happen every day. But we know there's strategic ways where we could actually build more power and also take away the power of these bigots, right? Of these violent people who all they know how to do is violence. So like when you like meet violence with nonviolence, you kind of neutralize them in a little bit, right? And kind of give yourself like a stronger standing, right? Yeah, way stronger standing. And it doesn't mean that you're not fighting back.
Taking the high road.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that you're a coward. On the contrary. When you put your body on the line, without any weapons, but with love for people who are suffering, you are more valiente. How do you say valiente? Valiente.
You are more courageous. Courageous.
You're more courageous, than they are, and I think like in that process of peaceful resistance, we're gonna encounter suffering too.
Yes. Yeah.
And sometimes we have to take those blows, and we have to take those moments of suffering and try to make sense of them and move on. What I have noticed throughout history is that I'm going to talk about what I know, El Salvador. My generation made the decision to rise up in arms. I am not going to question whether that decision was right or wrong. It was what people believe needed to get done, because they were being disappeared, they were being tortured, they were being killed, and some people felt that the only way to fight back is arming ourselves. And it was to end decades of dictatorship. But if you ask me how El Salvador is 35 years later, after over 100,000 people were killed and tens of thousands disappeared that we don't even know where they are. Like we have another government 30 years later that has installed another dictatorship. In El Salvador, people don't have constitutional rights. They have this what they call the state of exception, and they have built this infamous jail where they have put people who they claim are gang members, people who have been put in jail without any due process. There are folks that have been in jail for years. Without any charges being pressed. People have died in those prisons. And it appears that the U.S. is importing that model from El Salvador to the U.S. And the issue that moved the president of El Salvador to be repressive is an issue that wasn't even created in El Salvador. The gangs, they come from Los Angeles. So there is this cycle that I quite don't understand, but it seems that the president of the United States is following in the footsteps of the president of El Salvador. It's like the world has shifted because it's usually the dictatorships in Latin America were actually came from the United States, but the world is a little different now. President Bukele can claim that the people that he is incarcerated are gang members. Well, this president cannot say that about immigrants.
Yeah.
It's even though that he tries, but everybody knows that that's not the case. So I don't know how we got into this.
It always leads back to the Civil War in El Salvador because of lessons learned and like why we're so committed to at this point we're very committed to nonviolent direct action.
Yeah.
It's not it's a decision we don't take lightly, and it's a decision that we take from experience.
Yeah.
Like your experience. And a lot of the compas here at NDLON have that experience. A lot of the compas
come from places like that. The Tepecianos, the National TPS Alliance, that has our legal team defends people from Sudan, from Syria, from Yemen, from Cameroon, from Nicaragua, places where there's been Ukraine, we're trying to protect the TPS program for people who have been in those circumstances, and those people can serve. I hope that one of the things that I want to do is one of those the national calls that we do. I want to have a call on peace and nonviolence.
Yeah,
and I want people from those countries to tell Americans, hey, this is how it looks like. And I think we're going to be working in the next few weeks on that one.
Yes. And I think it's needed, right? Because I think a lot of what I hear and like my friends or the folks that I'm or just, what I'm hearing right now is like, how do we fight this, right? I think as NDLON, as immigrant rights organizers, we've known that the conditions have been terrible for immigrants for decades. A lot of people are just finding out, right? Like a lot of people are just now seeing all the injustice that we have and are trying to kind of make sense out of it. But what we have to offer, which is really important, is like that knowledge of individuals who this is not their first time fighting fascism. And we need to listen to those people because they have valuable lessons to teach and to tell, So at the very least, what we could do is listen to folks like you and folks in the TPS Alliance who have this it's not theoretical. They didn't read it in a book.
No.
They didn't see a movie. Like, this is real life shit, and I think that would be a webinar or like a space I would send so many people to, because those are conversations I'm having, and folks kind of are, are coming to like fascism for the first time, thinking that it's new, or like because they're now experiencing it in real life, in our bodies, in our everyday. So it's como andan in shock. Folks are in shock, but this is where we lean into like the collective knowledge that we have around us. That unfortunately, like the first folks 1 degree from us or just our friends, like they've already experienced fascism in real life, and they have a lot to say, a lot to teach, and we have a lot to learn.
So look, the mobile stage is part of fighting fascism.
Yes.
The music.
That's not by accident.
No, it's not
at all. It's not because you just love music.
No,
although we do.
I am a student of Gramsci, Antonio Gramsci, the Italian philosopher who was in jail, who wrote this series of books called Cuadernos de la Cárcel. I guess in English is there's a word for it, like
the prison diaries.
Prison diaries.
Prison diaries. Like yeah.
And one of the things they said, and I always remind people of this, is that when we describe the world, we have to be pessimistic.
Yes.
But when we act to change the world, we have to be optimistic. And I think every time that we hold a vigil, even if it is because our family has been split or somebody has been murdered, like in the case of Alex Preddy and others, you know, what we're doing is building that resistance against fascism, and particularly when we bring people from all walks of life to share with each other. There are ways that we can resist fascism that are also joyful. So in a struggle, there are battles that you win, battles that you lose, but you always have to learn from each battle so that you can be ready for the next one. But you also have to enjoy life.
Yes. Yes.
And it can be done even in the middle of the most difficult moments in El Salvador during the Civil War. People still celebrated their quinceañeras. We can't stop celebrating our quinceañeras. We can't stop celebrating Mother's Day, the Day of the Dead, because they want exactly to even feel that existing is not even good for us. So they want to take away the joy and instill fear in everyone, and we cannot allow for that to happen. And by the way, it's not just fear, creating the fear among the undocumented people. It's also creating the fear among the segment of the white population who is afraid of a non-white majority.
Yes.
Because it's those who believe that the country is shifting demographically and that they are at the brink of losing their status of a majority. It used to be that those voices were marginal. Now they are no longer marginal. They have power.
Yes.
And they know where they want to take the country. And we have to resist that, with love and care and showing up for one another. And yes, creating tension, peaceful tension. Yeah. And I think I don't know, it's human to be afraid.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel fear. But there are days that I don't. One goes back and forth.
Yes, it's always a state of flux. Yes.
I know. There are days when I go to a protest and I say, well, today if something happens, whatever. I feel terrible about the younger folks.
Sí.
But I've lived almost 60 years. I feel like, si me toca, me toca. And, but there are days that I don't want to.
No.
There are days that I would love to see. I say, no, I don't want that to happen to me. I want to see my grandchildren.
Yes.
So we all go.
Yes.
All people in the resistance right now have some of those moments.
Yes.
And it's okay to recognize those moments and share with each other.
Pablo, I can hear you talk forever. In all of our conversations, this is how it is, because we're always asking for guidance. I think folks are always open to hearing from folks who have been through this. Not in the same way, but still in some way. So I look forward to continuing to learn from you always.
It's the other way around. I learn from you. Yeah, so much. So much. And it's an honor to work with you.
Oh, thank you, Pablo.
And we're going to get out of this.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
And there will be one day that when we have the block parties, but there will be one day where the block parties will be to celebrate the big win.
Yes.
I don't know when that's gonna be, and I don't know what that big win is going to be.
But it will happen.
But it will happen.
It will happen. Thank you so much, Pablo, for coming on the Ice Out of LA podcast. I know, and I look forward. Yeah, to that. I think that TPS conversation is something that we really need.
Yes.
So yes, let's make it happen.
Yeah, we're gonna make it happen.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And yeah, let's continue the lucha. Let's continue peaceful militant direct action, peaceful resistance, and let's continue the love that we have for each other, and the love that also carries us to keep showing up for each other. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Peace and love.